Hey guys, it's Noah with American Muscle, and today we're looking at these PowerStop Z26 Extreme Carbon Ceramic brake pads for the front of a 2015 and newer Mustang GT with the Performance Pack. These pads are going to be great for the GT owner who's looking to get some braking performance without putting a ton of skin in the game or breaking the bank. Sometimes going right to a big brake upgrade isn't really necessary because of upgraded stock size pads like these ones from PowerStop. Now, they're a drop-in solution if you're looking for some upgraded bite, some better heat management, meaning less fade, and most importantly, at least in my opinion, no dust. Now, this is a full front set. There are not rears included here. Installing rear pads of the same caliber will only help you some more in your mission for better braking, however. Now, these pads are proven to deliver 20% better stopping power, and you're going to notice a tangible difference when you get some heat into these guys when you compare them to the stock pads. So these pads are made from a blend of ceramic and carbon fiber, typically referred to as carbon ceramic. Now, this compound is extremely resistant to heat, and you're going to be good to really lay on the brakes with no fade. Now, they are slotted pads as well. You can see that right here down the center, and that's going to channel out any moisture and dust and keep your braking feeling consistent and noise-free. Now, carbon ceramic brakes are very low dust, so your wheels are going to stay clean, which is a huge factor to consider, at least in my opinion. Now, finally, these come with a 30-day, 500-mile warranty, just in case you run into any kind of issues. So these pads from PowerStop cost around $110 for the front pair. Now, in terms of bang for your buck, that's the best part about them. The fact that they basically cost the same as a set of stock replacement pads from your local parts store. Now, these guys are really a no-brainer regardless of if you need to replace your front brake pads or not. These are a great upgrade for you. This kit comes in at 2 out of 3 wrenches of difficulty, and it's going to take you about 2 hours to complete the full install. Now, getting these front pads on your Mustang really won't be too much of a hassle for the average DIYer, but it could be challenging for some of you who are really new to working on your car. If that's you, you're in luck because you can follow along with us. Let's head over to the install bay and check out that install process step by step.
Tools we're going to be using today: some shop rags, a brush, some WD-40, a C-clamp to push the pistons back, a couple of punches, a hammer, a 13mm socket, 15mm socket, a broad face screwdriver, a 3/8 inch ratchet, and a breaker bar to remove the lugs to take off the tire. Hi, my name is Anthony, and today we're going to be installing PowerStop Extreme brake pads in my 2017 Mustang GT. This model has the Brembo brake calipers. First thing we're going to do is we're going to pop the hood and remove the cap off the brake reservoir. Now we're going to take the tire iron and we're going to loosen the lugs on the wheel prior to jacking it up, because this is a rear-wheel drive car. It'll make it a whole lot easier to loosen the lugs while the tire's still on the ground, so the tire's not spinning. So I'm going to do that now. And I'm just breaking them free. I'm not going to be removing the lugs completely. I just want to loosen them up. Alright, the tire off the ground. See how it spins? Now remove the rest of the lugs. Alright, with all the lugs removed, we'll remove the tire. Set this to the side. Now at this stage, to make this a lot easier, we're going to turn the steering wheel out so that these calipers are facing out. This way you can get a better look at what we're going to be doing, and it'll be a whole lot easier to remove this if it's positioned outwards. Okay, we're going to start these 2 pins and this bolt are going to be removed so that we can get this tension bracket off, and then we'll be able to remove the pads and the rotor at the same time. So we're going to start with this center bolt. It's a 13mm socket. And I like to use that breaker bar to get started because sometimes these can be on pretty tight. Then I switch to my ratchet to do the final. Now before you get it all the way out, leave it in there just enough. Take your WD-40 and just apply a little bit to this section right here and this section. Try not to get any of it on the rotor. And the reason for that is it's pretty seized up. Being there for so long, you just want to kind of wipe it down a little bit. If yours has a lot of caking on it, you can use that steel brush I mentioned before. Get a little bit loose. The reason why we left that in there is so we can use it to push the bolt through a little bit. And take your hammer, just lightly tap the front of this to get it to break loose here. Then continue on taking out the bolt. Again, give it another push. Now we're going to take it out completely. Set it aside. It may be necessary to use a large punch like this to help push it out. And since you're limited on space here, you can use the flat side of the hammer to tap out the pin. There we go. Once it's free, continue to pull it out. Like I said, it may be hard to get through here because it's so dirty and dry. So you take your shop rag, continue to spin and wipe it. If you need to, reapply a little bit of WD-40 or some kind of lubricant like gear oil or any kind of oil you have around. Again, get it clean as you can get it. And then work it through. There we go. Set that aside. Now we're going to take our hammer and tap out both of these pins. You can just hit the broad face, or you can use a small punch so that you don't damage the caliper face. You want to get them out as far as you can go. And it's going to be necessary to clean these just the same as the pin to get it to go through the holes. This is where I struggled on the other wheel. Again, use the punch to continue to tap it out. There goes one, tension's removed. Other one comes out like this. Remember the orientation, that this is down at the bottom and this side's up at the top. All right, at this point, you should be able to remove these pads out, but actually, they're so trapped in there that now we can remove the caliper. And we'll start with that 15mm socket. Again, I like to use my breaker bar to get that started. Okay, next we're going to be removing the caliper nuts, one here and one here. They're both 15mm. I'm just loosening them up with this breaker bar. Now these bolts will feel pretty hard to remove. It's because they have thread locker on them. It's normal. I feel like they're really stiff until you get them almost all the way out. And there's one. The second nut. Now this caliper should come free. Just pull back. It's made to pull out, which is fine. We're going to set this right on top just for a moment. One pad already came out, so we're going to slightly turn this way. Pull out the remaining pad. You may have to wiggle it to get it out. Put your finger up underneath it. Here it comes. And set that aside. And it's hard to hold this and push these pistons in. There's 6 of them in there. And I'm trying to turn it so you can see it. There's 3 down the bottom and 3 up top over here. Look all the same. And we're going to try to use that C-clamp to push them back. So I'm going to move this here. Alright. So the C-clamp. Stick it right over the face of the piston. And you'll have to just get this balanced somehow. Holding it while you push this in. And you want to push them slow. The other ones might rise as you push them if you go too fast. And once it's flat, just like that, it'll look just like that one. Flat with the face of the caliper. Now we just got to do the rest of the 5. And it's usually better to start on the sides and then work your way to the middle. For some reason that middle piston likes to raise back up if you do that one second or before one of the ending ones on the sides. So, and it's tough to get this to do one-handed. Once you got it started, if you see that's flat there, start to push piston in. There we go. Now, middle one. I guess if you had 3 of these, you can leave them on there. Help push the, help keep the other 2 down. But I only have 1, and one's enough. Alright. All 3 are down on this side. Now we're gonna flip this caliper over. And keep in mind your brake hose so it doesn't get bound up and damaged. You can rest it on the face of on the edge over here if you want to. So it's an awkward position. It'd be helpful to have a hanger. Hold the caliper up. Probably get a piece of wire. Put it through, hang it off the coil. Now we're going to apply some grease to the edges of the new pads. And I'm going to have to hold this up, show you. The kit is supplied with some grease. You'll want to push up grease to the edge here, make it easier to squeeze it out. Tear off a little bit at the top. And we'll be applying grease to this face here and this face here. And particular attention to not get it on the pad surface. The pad I'm holding in my hand is the outside facing one because it has the wear indicator. This one should be facing out of the vehicle, not inside the vehicle. So apply that grease. Alright, we have grease on there. We're going to set that one aside. Grab the other one. Again, same thing. This surface and this surface. Now you can use your finger to coat it. We're now going to put the pads into the caliper. So I already have them butted up together. This is the one that's going to the outside. This is the one that's going to the inside. We're just going to carefully lay it down. So the bottom one seats. I'm going to slide the whole thing over the rotor. Now with the pads in position, we're going to take the 15mm bolt that we took out, and we're going to put them back. And you may have to visually look to see where the caliper is to line it up so that you have a good connection to make it thread well. So they're both on now. They're just loosely fitted, and we did that because we're going to have to now push these pins back in, pads, and it makes it a whole lot easier to do that caliper in place rather than in the air trying to fumble around with it. So we can go ahead and tighten down to 15 mil. Now we can begin to take those two pins that we had removed before, and these are kind of dirty, so you'll want to clean them up a little bit. Take a rag and wipe off any grease and brake dust that's been collected so that you have something smooth and clean. It'll make it easier to push it back through the holes. Same thing with the other one. I'll take that, wipe it with something like a oily rag, or and if you have any stubborn spots, you can hit it with that steel brush that we were looking at before. That'll be pretty good. Now I'm going to take, well, we can push this one back first. Okay, now we're going to install these pins. We're going to start with the top one. Tap it in, line it up so that it goes through the caliper and the brake pads. Once it seats, first one is on. This might be the opposite orientation of how we took the other ones out, but they seem to fit better facing the other way, and I don't think it matters because the pad is the same shape on both top and bottom. And it seems to fit better down here. So this part will be a little bit difficult. You have to push this pin, you have to push the retainer down and the pin through across at the same time to help tap it through. So you get to here. This is where that broad face, now if you can see what I'm gonna do, is I'm gonna put the face of the screwdriver here, and this will help to guide the pin through, because essentially we're going to need to go through this brake pad here, and you can see how it's much lower, and the tension on this is lifting it up, it makes it quite difficult to push down and push that in at the same time. Unless you got fingers made of iron, I think this is easier. You stick the screwdriver through here just a little bit, and what you're going to do is you're going to twist the screwdriver counterclockwise to push down, and at the same time you're going to push forward slightly. Now you can hold it like that with one hand. I'm going to switch hands so I can manipulate my hammer, and you're going to tap this in until it goes through the pad. And again, you'll have to eyeball it yourself and see how much twist you have to put in there to get it to line up. And you may have to take a few tries to get it, but you eventually will go in, and there it is where I need it to be, but can't switch hands. This is by far the most difficult part of this whole installation. It's just getting that pin lined up. But once you do, it'll come straight across just like that. And there it is. Now it's set. This, you can push ears back in there. It's just tension on these pads so that they're spread out and the piston is not squeezing. And does that. Now we can put that bolt that we took off first. And again, you'll need to, it's very dirty. This is dry and cakey. It's going to be hard to push it through like this, so you want to take a rag and wipe it off as much as you can. If you have cakey spots like I do here, you'll want to take that steel brush and remove some of that, being careful not to get any of that in your eye, and obviously not trying to breathe in any of this dust that you're kicking up. That looks about good. Now I'm going to leave this just a little bit so that make it easier to get it through. And you don't want to put too much. Now this bolt has two flat sides, and you'll want to meet the flat side here against the edge of the caliper. At this point, you can pretty much tap in with your hand. If it gets stuck, use the face of the hammer to lightly tap it in. It's seated. And again, that one also has Loctite on it, so it'll feel hard to get it in there. That's that 13mm nut. Now we can tighten it back up. Now we'll go back in the car and turn the wheel straight. Nearly done. At this point, put the tire back on. One thing to note with the pad with the indicator, if you install the pad with the indicator at the top instead of at the bottom, when you get to the installation of the clip, the spring clip, it'll be in an upside down orientation. So the way I have it here is with the indicator at the top of the pad. If I had the indicator at the bottom, the spring clip would be oriented in this direction. And just like in the video when we installed it, you would install this side first, this side last. So if you were to do the indicator at the bottom, you would be installing this side first at the bottom, and then this side at the top next. It doesn't matter if you do it this way or this way, because the pads are still in the direction that the spring clip connects with, so it won't fit the other way. So if you have the pad facing up like I do, the retention clip's only going to fit in this orientation. And if you have it with the indicator down, it's only going to fit in the opposite, like this. And again, it does not make a difference for function. I like to line up the holes before I lift this tire because it's very heavy. Position your knee at the bottom, hold it in place, then finger tighten the lug nuts on to keep the rim from wobbling around. And you want to go all the way around. This finger tightening is safer than putting it on with the tire iron so you don't cross thread. We're going to take our tire iron. And again, we're just loosely tightening these again. We'll put the wheel down. We want to go in a crisscross pattern, so start at the top. We'll go down to this one. Now going from here to here, we're going to go here. Back to here. Now we can lower the vehicle. With the vehicle lowered, we can go ahead and finish tightening the lug nuts. Again, on that same pattern where we start at the top. And this one. And final lug. Alright. Put the tire on. Now that the tire is back on, the lugs are tightened up. You can go ahead and open that hood again. Put the cap to the brake fluid reservoir again, tighten it up. And then you want to go inside the car before you start it up and pump the brakes. Until those pistons seat. And that's it. That's the installation for the Power Stop Extreme pads. There's a recommended break-in for the pads. They come in the box. They recommend 5 moderate aggressive stops from 40 to 10 miles an hour, followed by 5 moderate decelerations from 35 to 5, and then drive carefully to cool down the brakes for the next 5 minutes.
That was the PowerStop Z26 Extreme Street Carbon Ceramic Brake Pads for the front of a 2015 and newer Mustang GT with the Performance Pack. For all things Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.